Where did this come from?
A gift from Sarah last month.
The necklace wasn't mine. I stood in my kitchen at 9:47 p.m., holding a delicate silver chain with a heart pendant that cost more than I made in a week. My wife Renee sat at the table, her pharmacist coat still on, picking at leftover Chinese food like nothing happened. "Where'd this come from?" I asked, dangling the jewelry between us. Renee looked up, her green eyes flickering with something I couldn't name. "Oh, that! Sarah from the clinic gave it to me for my birthday last month. You know how the girls are with their gag gifts? Last month. Her birthday was 3 months ago." "Thoughtful of Sarah," I said, setting the necklace on the counter. My concrete-stained hands looked rough against the pristine silver. Renee smiled, that practiced smile she'd perfected over 14 years of marriage. "You know how women are, Mason. We love our little trinkets." I knew how my woman was. Or thought I did. The house felt different that night. Too quiet. Our 10-year-old daughter Emma was at her sleepover, but even accounting for that, something was off. The air conditioning hummed. The clock ticked. But underneath it all was a silence that hadn't been there before. I'd built this house with my own hands 7 years ago. Every beam, every foundation pour, every piece of drywall. I knew it sounds like a heartbeat. Tonight, it felt like holding my breath. "Long day?" Renee asked, not looking up from her lo mein. "Yeah, the Morrison job's behind schedule. Had to pour until dark." She twirled noodles around her fork. "I might be late tomorrow. Inventory at the clinic." Another first. In 6 years working at Clayton Family Medicine, Renee had never mentioned inventory running past closing. "Need help with anything around here?" I offered. "No, everything's fine. Perfect, actually." Perfect. That word stuck in my throat like wet cement. I watched her eat, studying the face I'd kissed goodbye 1,000 mornings. High cheekbones, blonde hair always pulled back, neat, small hands that used to trace patterns on my chest when we were young. Now those hands looked restless, drumming against the table. "I'm gonna shower," I said. "Okay, honey." In the bathroom, I caught myself staring at the mirror. 38 years old, gray creeping through my brown hair, shoulders still broad from 20 years of construction work. Lines around my eyes from squinting at job sites, hands permanently stained with concrete dust. When had I started looking so tired? When I came back downstairs, Renee was gone. Her car keys were missing from the hook by the door. Inventory at 10:30 p.m. I poured myself a beer and sat in my recliner, the necklace burning a hole in my thoughts. Sarah from the clinic. I'd met Sarah exactly once at the hospital Christmas party 2 years ago. She was 63 years old with arthritis so bad she could barely hold a coffee cup, let alone shop for delicate jewelry. My phone buzzed. Text from Renee. "Forgot about inventory. Be back by midnight. Love you. Love you." When was the last time she'd said that out loud? I sat there until 12:47 a.m., when her headlights finally swept across the living room wall. The front door opened quietly, like she was trying not to wake someone. "How was inventory?" I called from the darkness. She jumped, hand flying to her chest. "Mason, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark?" "Couldn't sleep." "How'd it go?" "Fine. Boring. You know, counting pills and updating spreadsheets." She moved toward the stairs quickly. "I'm exhausted. See you in the morning?" "Yeah, see you." I listened to her footsteps on the stairs, the bathroom door closing, water running. Normal sounds, but nothing felt normal anymore. The next morning, I found the necklace in the trash. 3 days later, an envelope appeared in my mailbox with no return address. Inside was a single photograph, Renee and a man I recognized kissing behind the clinic. The timestamp showed yesterday, 2:17 p.m. The man was Jared Lorne. I knew Jared from high school. Star quarterback, student body president. The kind of guy who made everything look easy. Now he was running for mayor, his face plastered on yard signs all over town. Lorne for change. Married to a real estate agent named Patricia, 2 kids in private school, and apparently sleeping with my wife. I stared at the photo for 20 minutes, sitting in my truck outside the post office. Renee's hand was on Jared's chest, his arm wrapped around her waist. They looked comfortable together, practiced. How long had this been going on? I drove to the job site and worked like a machine, pouring foundations until my crew started giving me worried looks. At lunch, I sat alone and called Renee. "Hey, honey," she answered, voice bright and normal. "How's your day?" "Oh, you know, same old thing. Dr. Patterson's being difficult about the new prescription protocols, and we're behind on insurance paperwork. Lies came so easily to her now. What time will you be home? Normal time. 5:30, maybe 6 if this paperwork runs long. Okay, love you. A pause. Love you too, Mason. But I could hear the emptiness in it. That evening, I installed a GPS tracker under Renee's car. Took me 15 minutes in the garage while she cooked dinner. A little magnetic box smaller than a deck of cards, stuck up inside the rear wheel well, where she'd never see it. Emma came home from her sleepover full of stories about movies and popcorn and staying up too late. She hugged me tight, smelling like strawberry shampoo in childhood. Daddy, can we work on my science project tonight? What's it about, sweetheart? Volcanoes. We have to build one that really erupts. Sounds dangerous? Emma giggled. That's what makes it fun. We spent 2 hours in the garage, mixing baking soda and vinegar, watching her little volcano bubble and foam. She clapped her hands every time it worked, and for those moments, everything felt normal again. But at bedtime, when I tucked her in, Emma looked at me with those serious brown eyes she'd inherited from me. Daddy, are you and Mommy okay? My chest tightened. What do you mean, honey? You don't talk to each other anymore, and Mommy's been sad lately. Adults go through rough patches sometimes. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you, okay? Okay. She hugged me. But if something was wrong, you'd tell me, right? Of course. Another lie. They were getting easier. The GPS tracker told me everything I needed to know. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Renee's daily patterns on my phone. Clinic from 8 to 5 most days. But twice a week, she'd drive to the Marriott downtown during lunch, stay for exactly 90 minutes, then back to work like nothing happened. I hired Elise Travers. Elise and I went to high school together, though we'd never been friends. She was 3 years older, tough as nails, the kind of girl who could drink the football team under the table and still ace her chemistry test the next morning. After graduation, she'd gone into the Army, did 2 tours overseas, came back, and became a private investigator. Mason Greeley, she said when I walked into her office above the pawn shop on Main Street. Heard you were doing well with the concrete business. Can't complain. What can I do for you? I slid the photograph across her desk. I need to know everything about this. Elise studied the image without expression. Your wife and Jared Lorne. How long you known? 2 weeks. How long you think it's been going on? That's what I'm paying you to find out. She leaned back in her chair. This is a small town, Mason. People talk. Whatever I find out, it's going to spread eventually. I'll deal with that when it happens. What's your end game here? You just want proof for the divorce? I met her eyes. I want to know everything. How long? How often? Who else knows? What they're planning. Planning? People don't sneak around unless they're building towards something. Elise nodded slowly. My rate is $200 a day plus expenses. I'll need a retainer. I wrote her a check for $2,000. One more thing, I said. They can't know you're watching. They won't. The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing blueprints for a new shopping center. Elise's voice was grim. We need to meet. Now. I found her at the diner on Route 22, sitting in a back booth with a manila folder in front of her. Coffee? She asked. Just tell me. She opened the folder. Bank statements, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, a paper trail going back 8 months. It started last December, Elise said. Christmas party at the country club. Jared's campaign was looking for donors, and your wife was there representing the medical community. December. Right around the time Renee started working late, started being distant in bed, started finding reasons to argue about money. They've been meeting twice a week since January. Always the same hotel, always the same time, but that's not the worst part. She slid another document across the table. Real estate contracts. Property deeds. 3 weeks ago, your wife opened a joint account with Jared. They've been buying rental properties together. 2 houses and a small commercial building. My hands went numb. With what money? That's where it gets interesting. Elise pulled out more papers. Someone's been taking cash advances against your business line of credit. Small amounts, spread out over time so you wouldn't notice. I stared at the numbers. $50,000. Gone. There's more. Your wife forged your signature on a partnership agreement. Jared now owns 20% of Greeley Concrete. The diner suddenly felt too small, too hot. I couldn't breathe. Mason? Elise's voice sounded far away. You okay? Show me the signatures. She handed me the partnership documents. There was my name, signed in handwriting that looked exactly like mine, but I'd never seen these papers before in my life. She's good, Elise said. Must have practiced. I thought about all those years of Renee handling our taxes, our insurance paperwork, our business filings. How she'd always been so helpful, so organized, taking care of the details so I could focus on the work. What else? They're planning to leave town after the election. Jared's already looking at property in Charlotte. Somewhere they can start fresh. And Emma? Elise's expression softened. I'm sorry, Mason. From what I overheard, they're planning to fight for custody. Claim you're an unfit father. Based on what? They're going to say you drink too much, work too much, that you're emotionally unstable. The coffee cup cracked in my grip. Emotionally unstable. There's something else. Your wife's been documenting incidents, taking photos of beer bottles in the trash, recording voice memos about arguments you've had, building a case. I sat there for a long time, watching traffic pass by the window. Normal people going about their normal lives. None of them knowing their world could collapse in an instant. How much do you want for all this? I finally asked. The retainer covers it. No, I mean, how much to keep digging, to find out everything they're planning? Elise studied my face. Mason, maybe you should talk to a lawyer instead. Get ahead of this thing legally. Answer the question. Another 1,000 should cover it. But I gotta ask, what are you thinking of doing? I stood up and threw a 20 on the table. I'm thinking about building something. That Sunday was Emma's 10th birthday. We'd planned a backyard barbecue, just family and a few friends. I spent the morning setting up tables and chairs, stringing lights, preparing the grill. Normal dad stuff. Renee made her famous potato salad and decorated with balloons and streamers. We moved around each other in the kitchen like polite strangers, all smiles and, excuse me, and could you hand me that? This looks great, she said, surveying our work. Emma's gonna love it. She better. You know how she gets when things aren't perfect. Our daughter inherited my eye for detail and Renee's stubborn streak, a dangerous combination in a 10-year-old. The guests started arriving at noon. My parents, Renee's sister Kelly with her kids, a handful of Emma's friends from school. The backyard filled with laughter and conversation, the smell of burgers and hot dogs on the grill. I was flipping meat when I saw him walk through the gate. Jared Lorne, looking like he'd stepped out of a campaign poster. Khaki slacks, blue button-down, that $1 million smile. He carried a wrapped present and a bottle of wine. Hope I'm not crashing the party, he called out. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by to wish Emma a happy birthday. Renee appeared at my elbow. Jared, what a nice surprise. But her voice was too bright, too forced, and I caught the look that passed between them. Quick, guilty, electric. Mason, Jared extended his hand. Good to see you, buddy. How's business? I shook his hand, squeezed just a little too hard. Can't complain, keeping busy. That's great to hear. This town needs more success stories like yours. Politicians speak. Everything he said sounded like a campaign commercial. Emma ran up, grass stains on her new dress, face flushed with excitement. Mr. Lorne, did you come to my party? I sure did, birthday girl. He ruffled her hair. Brought you something special. The present was expensive. A science kit with real microscopes and slides, the kind of gift that made other presents look cheap. Emma's eyes went wide. Can I open it now, Daddy? Save it for after cake, honey. But I was watching Jared's face as he knelt down to Emma's level. How comfortable he looked. How naturally he smiled at her. Like he'd done this before. Like he was practicing. You're going to be a scientist someday, he told Emma. I can tell. Smart girls like you can do anything. I want to study volcanoes, Emma said. Me and Daddy made one that really erupts. Is that right? Your daddy's pretty good at building things. The way he said it made my teeth ache. The party continued. Jared worked the crowd like the politician he was, shaking hands, asking about jobs and families, making everyone feel important. He complimented my parents on raising such a successful son. He told Kelly how much Emma looked like her aunt. He even helped serve cake, but I saw how his eyes kept finding Renee, how she laughed a little too loud at his jokes, how they managed to stand close to each other without seeming obvious about it. As the sun started setting and guests began leaving, Jared pulled me aside. Great party, Mason. Emma's a lucky kid. Thanks for coming. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. I'm putting together a business advisory committee for the campaign. Local entrepreneurs who can give input on economic development. Interested. I don't know much about politics. That's exactly why I need you. Real perspective from real people. Plus, it could be good for business. City contracts, you know. He was recruiting me, drawing me into his circle. I wondered if this was how it started with Renee. Friendly conversations that turned into something more. I'll think about it, I said. Great. I'll have my assistant send you some information. He clapped me on the shoulder. We should grab lunch sometime, talk shop. After he left, I helped clean up while Renee put Emma to bed. The birthday girl was exhausted but happy, clutching her new science kit. Daddy, Mr. Lorne is really nice, she said as I tucked her in. Yeah, he seems like it. Do you think he'll win the election? Probably. People seem to like him. I hope he does. He said he wants to build a new playground at the school. I kissed her forehead. Get some sleep, birthday girl. Downstairs, Renee was loading the dishwasher. That was fun, she said. Emma had a great time. Yeah, nice of Jared to stop by. He's always been thoughtful like that. Always. Like she'd known him for years instead of months. How do you know him so well? I asked casually. Oh, you know. He comes into the clinic sometimes. Campaign stress, he says. Dr. Patterson prescribed him something for anxiety. Another lie. Easy as breathing. That night, I lay in bed listening to Renee's quiet breathing, thinking about the way Jared had looked at Emma, the expensive present, the casual way he'd touched my daughter's hair. They weren't just planning to leave town. They were planning to take her with them. The next morning, I called my lawyer. David Chen had handled the paperwork when I incorporated the business 5 years ago. Straight shooter, no BS. The kind of attorney who charged fair rates and returned phone calls. Mason, good to hear from you. What can I do? I need to ask you some questions about business partnerships. Hypothetically. Okay, shoot. If someone forged my signature on partnership documents, what kind of legal trouble would they be in? A pause. That would be fraud, felony level depending on the amounts involved. Why? Just curious. What if they used forged documents to take out loans against my business? That's worse. Fraud, forgery, possibly embezzlement. Mason, is everything okay? Everything's fine. One more question. If I wanted to protect my assets from a potential lawsuit, what would you recommend? Depends on the situation. But generally, you'd want to move assets into a protected entity, maybe an LLC or trust. Takes time to set up properly. How much time? 2 weeks minimum. A month to be safe. Mason, are you in some kind of trouble? No trouble. Just thinking ahead. But I was already forming a plan. I spent the next week quietly moving money. Small transfers from our joint accounts to a business account Renee didn't know about. Cash deposits from jobs that I told her were paid late. I made it look like the business was struggling, complaining about slow payments and rising material costs. Maybe I should go back to work full-time, Renee suggested over dinner. The clinic could use another full-time pharmacist. We're not that bad off, I said. Just a rough patch. But I saw the way her eyes lit up at the possibility. More hours away from home. More opportunities to see Jared. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Elise. I've got something, she said. Can you meet me tonight? When and where? The old steel mill at 8. Come alone. The mill had been abandoned for 15 years, a rusted skeleton on the east side of town. I drove there as the sun was setting, my truck bumping over broken asphalt and weeds. Elise was waiting inside the main building, smoking a cigarette under a shaft of fading light. This better be good, I said. She handed me a small digital recorder. Play it. I hit the button. Jared's voice filled the empty space, clear as day. Once I win this election, we'll be free of that joke of a husband. 6 months tops, and we're in Charlotte with the kid. Mason won't know what hit him. Renee's voice responded. What about the business? He's put everything into it. That's the beauty of it. By the time he figures out what we've done, we'll own half of it. And with the custody case, he'll be too broke to fight us. You really think the drinking thing will work? Honey, I've got photos of him with beer bottles going back months. Add your testimony about his temper, Emma's statement about feeling scared. It's a slam dunk. Emma would never say that. Kids say what adults tell them to say. Trust me. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the recorder. Where did you get this? They met at the mill yesterday afternoon. Thought they were being clever, getting away from the usual spots. Elise dropped her cigarette and crushed it under her boot. I've got more. Financial records showing they've been planning this for months. Hotel receipts going back to January. Even some emails between Jared and a private school in Charlotte. Private school? They're already planning Emma's education. Picked out a house, too. Nice place in a gated community. I played the recording again, listening to my wife casually discuss destroying my life. Her voice was so calm, so matter-of-fact, like she was ordering coffee. "There's something else," Elise said. "Jared's been asking questions about you around town, trying to find people who'll testify to your character, or lack thereof." "What kind of questions?" "Whether you drink too much, whether you have a temper, whether anyone's ever seen you lose control." "What are people saying?" "Most folks think you're solid, but he found a couple of guys who'll say whatever he wants for the right price." I thought about Emma, about her trusting smile when she'd hugged Jared goodbye, about the expensive science kit she'd been playing with all week. "How much do I owe you?" "We're square. But Mason, what are you planning to do with all this?" I looked around the empty mill, at the rusted beams and broken windows. This place had employed half the town once upon a time. Built things that mattered. Then one day, the owners decided it wasn't profitable anymore and they walked away. Left everyone else to deal with the wreckage. "I'm going to build something," I said. The plan came together over the next 2 weeks. I moved the concrete business into a shell company registered under my cousin Rick's name. On paper, Greeley Concrete was bankrupt. In reality, all the contracts and equipment now belonged to Keystone Foundations, LLC. I hired 2 new crews and took on 3 major jobs, including the foundation for a new elementary school. Business was booming, but according to my tax records, I was broke. Meanwhile, I fed Renee and Jared exactly what they wanted to hear. Complained about money troubles. Let bills pile up on the kitchen counter, started keeping beer in the garage, and made sure the empties were visible in the trash. I even had a staged argument with Renee in the front yard where the neighbors could see, shouting about late mortgage payments and cutoff notices. She played her part perfectly, crying about the stress and uncertainty. What she didn't know was that I was recording everything. "Mason's been drinking more," she told Dr. Patterson during one of her sessions. I knew because I'd bugged her car. "He comes home angry, takes it out on me and Emma. I'm starting to worry about our safety." None of it was true, but truth didn't matter anymore. The night before the mayoral debate, I drove to the high school where it was being held. The building was locked, but I knew the custodian. Pete Kowalski had bought concrete from me for his driveway last year. "Hey, Pete, thought I'd check on that crack we talked about." "What crack?" "In the foundation near the computer lab, remember? You were worried about water damage." Pete scratched his head. "I don't remember talking about any crack." "Maybe it was someone else. Mind if I take a look? Don't want the school district coming after me if there's actually a problem." He let me in. Small town trust. The computer server room was in the basement, behind a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." It took me 20 minutes to upload Elise's evidence to the school's network and configure it to broadcast during the live debate stream. Video files, audio recordings, financial documents, everything Jared and Renee had said and done over the past 8 months. Tomorrow night, the whole town would know the truth. The debate was held in the school auditorium, broadcast live on the local cable channel. I sat in the back row with Emma, who was excited to see Mr. Lorne on TV. Jared looked confident as he took the stage, shaking hands with his opponent, a retired teacher named Margaret Walsh, who'd served on the school board for 20 years. The questions started easy: budget priorities, infrastructure needs, economic development. Jared was smooth, polished, hitting all the right talking points. He spoke about bringing new businesses to town, supporting working families, building a brighter future for everyone. "This community deserves leaders who understand what it means to work hard and play by the rules," he said, looking directly into the camera. "People who put family first and never forget where they came from." Emma clapped. Around us, people nodded approvingly. Then the screen flickered. A new window opened on the broadcast feed. Video of Jared and Renee in the hotel room, kissing, undressing, laughing about something I couldn't hear. The auditorium went dead silent. "What's happening?" the moderator asked, looking confused. More windows opened. Audio files began playing through the sound system. Jared's voice, clear as a bell. "Once I win this election, we'll be free of that joke of a husband." Gasps echoed through the crowd. People turned to stare at Jared, who had gone pale under the stage lights. This isn't, he stammered into his microphone. But the recordings kept playing. Their plans to steal my business. Their scheme to take Emma. Renee's voice describing me as an unfit father and heavy drinker, a man who couldn't control his temper. And then the worst part, a recording I hadn't heard before, one Elise must have saved for last. Renee's voice talking to someone on the phone. Emma's just leverage. Once we get custody, Jared won't need to pretend to like her anymore. Kids adapt. She'll forget about Mason eventually. Emma grabbed my arm. Daddy, what does that mean? I looked down at my daughter's confused face, her brown eyes wide with hurt and fear. It means Mommy made some bad choices, sweetheart. On stage, Jared was trying to regain control. This is obviously some kind of technical malfunction, possibly criminal interference with an election. But people were already walking out, shaking their heads. Some were pointing at us, whispering. My phone buzzed. Text from Renee. Where are you? Something's wrong at the clinic. She didn't know yet. Hadn't seen the broadcast. Come on, Emma, I said. Let's go home. Is Mr. Lorne in trouble? Yes, honey. He is. Renee's car was in the driveway when we got home. I could see her through the kitchen window, pacing back and forth while talking on the phone. Emma, go upstairs and get ready for bed, okay? But Daddy, please, sweetheart, just for a few minutes. She looked scared, but she obeyed. Smart kid. She could sense the storm coming. I walked into the kitchen. Renee spun around, her face flushed with panic. Mason, thank God something terrible has happened. Someone hacked the debate broadcast, put up fake videos of me and Jared. It's all over social media. People are saying horrible things. Fake videos. Of course they're fake. Why would I ever... the whole thing is ridiculous. Jared and I barely know each other. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from the mill. Once I win this election, we'll be free of that joke of a husband. Renee's face went white. Mason, I can explain. Which part? The part where you stole $50,000 from our business, or the part where you forged my signature to give your boyfriend a stake in my company? It's not what you think. Then there's my personal favorite. I played another clip. Emma's just leverage. Once we get custody, Jared won't need to pretend to like her anymore. Renee's legs gave out. She collapsed into a kitchen chair, her hands shaking. How long have you been recording us? Long enough. Mason, please, you have to understand. I never meant for it to go this far. It happened. Jared made me feel alive again, made me feel like I mattered. So you decided to destroy our family. I was going to tell you, after the election, I was going to sit down and talk to you about everything. Work out some kind of arrangement. An arrangement where you take my daughter and half my business? Tears were streaming down her face now. I love Emma. I would never hurt her. You were going to make her testify that I scared her, that I was an unfit father. That was Jared's idea. I told him it was wrong, but he said it was the only way to make sure she'd be safe. Safe from what? From you. From this life, this town. She gestured wildly around the kitchen. Look at this place, Mason. Look at what we've become. We're stuck in this dying town, in this house that's falling apart, married to each other, out of habit more than love. Emma deserves better than this. She deserves better than parents who lie to her. I never wanted to lie, but you wouldn't understand. You're happy here, working with your hands, building things that don't matter, but I want more. I always wanted more. So, you took it? I tried to talk to you. For years, I tried to tell you how I felt, but you never listened. You just kept building and pouring concrete like that was going to fix everything. I looked at my wife, really looked at her, and realized I was seeing her clearly for the first time in years. The resentment in her eyes, the contempt, the absolute certainty that she deserved something better than the life we'd built together. You're right, I said. I was building something that didn't matter. I was building a marriage to someone who never existed. My phone rang. David Chen, my lawyer. Mason, I just saw the news. We need to talk. What's the situation? Jared's been arrested. Fraud charges related to the campaign funds he used for the hotel rooms. Your wife's been named as a co-conspirator. Renee was staring at me, her face a mask of terror. What about custody? I asked. With the recordings you have, she won't get unsupervised visitation, let alone custody. Mason, this is big. Federal prosecutors might get involved. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up. Renee hadn't moved. Federal prosecutors? She whispered. Turns out forging signatures and stealing business assets is serious stuff. Who knew? Mason, Please, we can work this out. I'll make it right. I'll pay back the money. With what? Your boyfriend's broke too. Amazing how fast political donations dry up when people find out you're a lying piece of crap. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Don't talk to me like that. Like what? Like you talked about me? Like you talked about Emma? I never meant... You meant every word. You meant to steal my business. You meant to take my daughter. You meant to destroy everything I built while pretending to love me. I did love you. I still... No, you loved what I could provide. The house, the security, the respectability. But you never loved me. Footsteps on the stairs. Emma appeared in the doorway wearing her pajamas and clutching a stuffed animal. Daddy, why is Mommy crying? I knelt down to Emma's level. Mommy and I need to have some grown-up conversations. Can you go back upstairs for a little while? Are you getting divorced? Kids always know. They pick up on things adults think they're hiding. Maybe, sweetheart, would that scare you? Emma looked back and forth between us. Will I still live here? With me, yes. Always. What about Mommy? I glanced at Renee, who was sobbing quietly into her hands. Mommy's going to have to go away for a while. But no matter what happens, we both love you very much. Emma walked over to Renee and hugged her. I love you too, Mommy. Renee held our daughter tight, whispering apologies that Emma couldn't possibly understand. After Emma went back upstairs, we sat in silence for a long time. The kitchen clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Normal sounds in a life that would never be normal again. What happens now? Renee finally asked. Now you pack a bag and leave. Tonight. Mason, the police will probably be here in the morning with a warrant. I'd rather Emma not see that. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. She stood up slowly like an old woman. I'll need some things from upstairs. Make it quick. While she packed, I sat at the kitchen table where we'd eaten thousands of meals together, where we'd helped Emma with homework and paid bills and planned vacations we'd never take, where she'd been sitting 3 weeks ago when I'd found that necklace, the necklace that started everything. Renee came downstairs with a single suitcase. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Mason, I know you hate me right now. I don't hate you. I don't feel anything for you at all. But Emma needs her mother. Whatever I've done, she doesn't deserve to lose both parents. She's not losing me. You know what I mean. I looked at this woman I'd loved for 14 years, married to for 12, built a life with, the mother of my child, a stranger wearing my wife's face. You should have thought about that before you decided she was just leverage. Renee's face crumpled. I never meant that. I was angry. I was confused. You meant it, and now you get to live with it. She walked toward the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, I really did love you once, in the beginning. Yeah, me too. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I listened to her car start up and drive away, taking 15 years of my life with it. Emma cried herself to sleep that night. I sat beside her bed, rubbing her back and answering her questions as honestly as I could. Did Mommy do something bad? Yes, sweetheart. Is that why she had to leave? Yes. Will she come back? I don't know. Maybe someday. Are you sad? I thought about that. Was I sad, or was I something else entirely? I'm disappointed and angry, but mostly I'm worried about you. I'll be okay, Daddy. We'll be okay. She fell asleep holding my hand. I stayed there for another hour, watching her breathe, memorizing the curve of her cheek in the moonlight. She was the only good thing to come out of my marriage, the only thing worth saving. The next morning brought chaos. Police cars in the driveway, reporters on the lawn, neighbors standing on their porches, gawking at the spectacle. Detective Sarah Martinez was professional but thorough. She'd known me since high school, which made the questions more awkward. We need to search the house, Mason, looking for evidence of financial fraud. Help yourself. You won't find anything here. Where's your wife? Gone. Left last night. Any idea where she went? Probably to her sister's place in Pittsburgh. They found Renee's computer in our bedroom, the one she'd used to manage our business accounts. Also found the forged partnership documents hidden in a file folder behind her dresser. She wasn't very good at covering her tracks, Martinez observed. She thought I was too stupid to notice. Were you? For a while? Yeah, I was. Emma stayed at my parents' house during the search. When I picked her up that evening, my mother pulled me aside. How are you holding up? I'm fine, Ma. No, you're not. Nobody would be fine after this. She was right. I wasn't fine, but I wasn't broken either. I was something harder, something colder. Emma's going to need counseling, she continued. This kind of betrayal, it damages kids. I'll take care of it. And you need to take care of yourself, too. Don't let this turn you into someone you're not. Too late for that. Jared's political career ended that night. By morning, Lauren for Change signs were disappearing from yards all over town. His campaign headquarters closed by noon. I drove past his house on my way to work. Patricia's car was gone. So were the kids' bikes from the front yard. Another family destroyed. At the job site, my crew was quieter than usual. They'd all seen the news. Boss, my foreman Tommy called me aside. You need anything? Time off? Whatever? Just need to work. Sure thing. But if you want to talk, I don't. We poured foundation for 8 hours straight. Hard, physical work that left no room for thinking. My hands ached, my back screamed, but my mind was quiet. That evening, Elise stopped by the house. Wanted to check on you, she said. I'm fine. No, you're not. I've seen what revenge does to people, even when they're justified. What's your point? My point is that you got what you wanted. They're finished. Both of them. Don't let it finish you, too. It won't. She studied my face. You sure about that? Because the Mason I knew in high school wouldn't have done what you just did. The Mason you knew in high school was naive. He was decent. Decent doesn't win. Winning isn't everything. I looked at her standing in my doorway, this woman who'd helped me destroy my wife's life, who'd given me the tools to tear apart everything Renee and Jared had built. Thank you for your help, but we're done here. Elise nodded slowly. Yeah, I figured we would be. After she left, I sat in my empty house and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, no regret. Just emptiness where my heart used to be. The trial took 6 months. Federal prosecutors charged Renee and Jared with conspiracy, fraud, and money laundering. The local district attorney added forgery and theft charges. I testified on the second day, walking the jury through how they'd stolen from my business and planned to take my daughter. I spoke calmly, clinically, like I was describing a construction project. Renee sat at the defendant's table in a conservative blue dress, looking like a suburban mother who'd gotten in over her head, which, I suppose, she was. When our eyes met, she mouthed, I'm sorry. I felt nothing. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a sufferer of Jared's manipulation, a lonely housewife seduced by a charismatic politician who promised her a better life. It didn't work. The recordings were too clear. The financial evidence too damning. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Jared got 5 years in federal prison. Renee got 3 years plus restitution. Emma didn't attend the trial. She was in counseling twice a week, trying to process the fact that her mother had been willing to use her as a weapon. She keeps asking when mommy's coming home, the therapist told me. I think she still believes this is all a misunderstanding. What do I tell her? The truth. Age-appropriate, but honest. Children are resilient, but they need to understand reality to heal from it. Reality. My 10-year-old daughter's reality was that her mother was a convicted felon who'd tried to steal her from her father. Some realities are too big for children to carry. 6 months after the trial, I was working late at the new elementary school site when a car pulled up. Jared stepped out, wearing a cheap suit and looking 10 years older. He'd been released early for good behavior. Mason. Jared. Can we talk? You're supposed to stay away from me. Restraining order. I know, but I needed to say something. I set down my tools and faced him. Make it quick. I'm leaving town tomorrow, heading to Florida, start over. But I wanted you to know, what we did to you was wrong. What I did to you was wrong. Okay. I never meant for Emma to get hurt. I know you don't believe that, but it's true. You called her leverage. I was trying to convince Renee to leave you. I thought I was saving her from something. I was wrong. About what? About you. About your marriage, about everything. He ran a hand through his thinning hair. Renee made it sound like you were this controlling, angry guy who drank too much and ignored his family. But you're not, are you? What do you think? I think she was lying to me the same way she was lying to you. Maybe lying to herself, too. I picked up my hammer, tested its weight in my hand. Jared took a step back. I'm not going to touch you, I said. I wouldn't blame you if you did. I don't want to touch you. I don't want anything from you except for you to disappear. Fair enough. He turned toward his car, then stopped. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about Emma, about everything. Sorry doesn't fix anything. No, I guess it doesn't. He drove away, and I never saw him again. 2 years later, Emma and I had settled into a routine: school, homework, dinner, bedtime stories, weekends working on science projects, or hiking in the state park. Simple, predictable, safe. She still asked about Renee sometimes, but less often. The therapist said that was normal. Children adapt. My business was thriving. Keystone Foundations had contracts all over the county. I'd hired 23 employees and was looking at expanding into commercial work. People in town treated me differently now, with respect, but also with a kind of wariness. I was the man who'd brought down the golden boy politician and sent his own wife to prison. A cautionary tale. I didn't mind. I preferred the distance. Emma was helping me review blueprints for a new library when she looked up at me with those serious brown eyes. "Daddy, are you lonely?" "What makes you ask that?" "You don't talk to people much anymore, and you never smile." She was right. I couldn't remember the last time I'd laughed at anything. "I have you," I said. "That's enough. But what about when I grow up and move away? That's a long time from now." "But what if you're still sad then?" I set down the blueprints and really looked at my daughter. 12 years old now, gangly and awkward, but with an intelligence that sometimes startled me. "I'm not sad, sweetheart. I'm just different than I used to be." "Different how?" How do you explain to a child that her father's heart had turned to concrete? That he'd become exactly what he'd always built with: hard, durable, and cold? "I used to trust people more," I said finally. "Now I'm more careful." "Because of what Mommy did?" "Yeah." "Do you still love her?" The question caught me off guard. I realized I hadn't thought about Renee in months. I love who I thought she was, but that person never really existed. Emma nodded like that made sense to her. "I miss her sometimes, but I'm not sad anymore." "That's good, honey." "Are you proud of me for not being sad?" "I'm proud of you for everything." She smiled and went back to the blueprints. "This library is going to be huge. Biggest one in the county. Will it have a science section?" "The best science section in the state." "Good. I want to read about volcanoes. Still fascinated by things that explode." My daughter. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, 3 years after the trial. Renee's handwriting on the envelope, my name and address in careful script. I almost threw it away without reading it, but Emma saw me hesitating. "What's that, Daddy?" "Letter from your mother. Are you going to read it? Do you want me to?" She thought about it seriously. "Yes, in case she says something about me." So I opened it. "Mason, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to write this before I lost my nerve. I get out next month. Early release for good behavior and completing a business program. I'm not asking to see Emma. I know I lost that right, but I wanted you to know that I'm moving to California. Starting over somewhere, nobody knows what I did. I've had 3 years to think about everything, about what I did to you, to Emma, to us. I want you to know that I take full responsibility, not Jared, not circumstances, me. I was selfish and cruel, and I justified it by telling myself you didn't appreciate me, that our marriage was dead anyway, that Emma would be better off with Jared's money and connections. I was wrong about everything. I threw away the best man I ever knew because I wanted something that was never real, and I hurt our daughter in ways I'm still learning to understand. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I know what I lost, and I'm sorry for all of it. Take care of our girl. You're the only parent she needs. Renee. P.S. I heard about the new library. Emma must be excited about the science section. I read it twice, then folded it carefully. What did she say? Emma asked. She said she's sorry and that she loves you. Do you believe her? Another serious question for my serious daughter. I believe she's sorry. Whether that matters is up to you. Emma took the letter and read it herself. When she finished, she handed it back to me. I'm not ready to see her yet. That's okay, you don't have to be ready for anything. But maybe someday? Maybe someday? She nodded and went upstairs to get ready for school. I sat at the kitchen table holding the letter, thinking about forgiveness and second chances, and whether some betrayals are too big to overcome. 3 years ago, I would have burned the letter without reading it. Today, I put it in a drawer, just in case Emma ever wanted to see it again. Maybe Elise had been right. Maybe revenge had changed me. But maybe I was changing back. Or maybe I was just tired of carrying so much weight. The library opened 6 months later. Emma cut the ribbon wearing a blue dress and grinning at the cameras. The science section was everything I'd promised. floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books about astronomy and geology and chemistry and volcanoes. Lots of books about volcanoes. After the ceremony, Emma and I walked through the building together, admiring the high ceilings and natural light. It's beautiful, Daddy. You think so? It's the best thing you've ever built. Better than our house? Houses are just for families. Libraries are for everyone. Smart kid. She got that from both of us. We stopped in front of a plaque near the entrance. Keystone Foundations, building tomorrow's dreams today. Is that your new slogan? Emma asked. Marketing department came up with it. It's kind of cheesy. Yeah, it is. But looking around at the library, at the children already pulling books from shelves, at the teenagers studying at the computers, at the elderly couple reading newspapers by the windows, I realized it wasn't entirely wrong. I was building something. Not just foundations and walls, but places where people could learn and grow and dream. Maybe that mattered after all. Daddy? Yeah. Are you happy? I looked down at my daughter, this amazing person who'd somehow survived the wreckage of her parents' marriage and turned into someone kind and curious and strong. Getting there, I said. And for the first time in 4 years, I meant it. That night, I stood in my garage, cleaning tools and thinking about the day. The library was done. Tomorrow, we'd start on a new project, a community center with a swimming pool and basketball courts. More foundations, more concrete, more building. Emma appeared in the doorway, wearing her pajamas. Daddy, I've been thinking about something. What's that? Do you think Mommy ever thinks about us? I'm sure she does. Do you think she's sorry? Really sorry? I set down my wrench and looked at my daughter. 15 years old now, almost as tall as her mother, with my eyes and Renee's stubborn chin. I think she's sorry she got caught. Whether she's sorry for what she did, that's harder to say. I want to write her a letter. Okay, will you help me? I'd spent 4 years teaching Emma that her mother was gone, that we were better off without her, that some betrayals couldn't be forgiven. Maybe it was time to teach her something else. Sure, sweetheart, I'll help you. We went inside and sat at the kitchen table where it had all started. Emma got out paper and a pen, then looked at me expectantly. What should I say? Whatever you want to say. She wrote slowly, carefully. Dear Mom, I'm 15 now. I'm on the honor roll, and I want to study geology in college. Dad built a library with the best science section in the state. I'm not ready to see you yet, but I wanted you to know I'm okay. We're both okay. I hope you're okay too. Love, Emma Simple. Honest. No accusations or anger or demands for explanations. Just a daughter reaching out to her mother. Should I send it? Emma asked. Do you want to? I think so. I found Renee's address in California and helped Emma address the envelope. We walked to the mailbox together and she dropped it in. Think she'll write back? Emma asked. Probably. Are you okay with that? I looked at my daughter, this strong, compassionate person who'd learned to forgive when I'd only learned to forget. Yeah, I said. I think I am. 5 years after the trial, I was drinking coffee in my kitchen when Emma called from college. Dad, you need to see something. Check your email. I opened my laptop and found a message from the mayor's office. Keystone Foundations had been selected to build the new courthouse, a $50 million project that would employ half the county. The biggest job of my career. Holy crap, I said into the phone. Dad, language. Sorry, but this is huge, Em. I'm proud of you. Your old man's moving up in the world. You were always moving up. Now other people are finally noticing. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen and thought about that scared, angry man who'd found a necklace on his counter 7 years ago, who'd discovered his wife was cheating and his business was being stolen and his daughter was being used as a weapon. That man had wanted revenge. This man wanted something different. I called my lawyer. David, it's Mason. I want to set up a scholarship fund. What kind of scholarship? For kids from broken homes, kids whose parents screwed up, but who still want to make something of themselves. That's really generous, Mason. What made you think of it? I looked around my kitchen, at the pictures of Emma on the refrigerator, at the breakfast dishes I'd wash alone, at the life I'd built from the ruins of my marriage. Just seems like the right thing to do. The courthouse took 3 years to build. Emma came home for the dedication ceremony, bringing her fiancé, a geology professor named Michael, who made her laugh and treated her like she was precious. They were getting married in the fall. You nervous about walking me down the aisle? Emma asked as we toured the finished courthouse. Terrified. Why? Because once you're married, you won't be just mine anymore. She laughed. Dad, I stopped being just yours when I turned 18 and went to college, but I'll always be your daughter. Promise? Promise. We stopped in front of the main courtroom where a bronze plaque read, "In memory of those who seek justice and those who grant it." That's beautiful, Emma said. Your idea, actually, from when you were 12. I said that. You said the courthouse should be a place where people come to make things right, even when making things right is hard. Emma studied the plaque, then looked at me. Did we make things right, Dad? With Mom? Renee had been writing to Emma for 2 years now. Careful letters about her new job at a pharmacy in Sacramento, her apartment near the coast, the community college classes she was taking, never asking for anything, just sharing her life. Emma had written back. Started talking about visiting next summer. I think we're trying to, I said. That's all anyone can do, right? Try? Yeah, that's all. The wedding was perfect. Small ceremony in the library I'd built, reception in the community center. Emma looked beautiful in her grandmother's dress, radiant and happy and whole. During the father-daughter dance, she whispered in my ear, "Thank you." For what? For showing me how to rebuild after everything falls apart. You figured that out on your own? No, I learned it from watching you. Later, as the reception wound down, I stepped outside for some air. The night was clear, stars visible despite the streetlights. Beautiful wedding. I turned. Elise stood by the door wearing a dress I'd never seen her in before. Didn't know you were invited? Emma invited me, said I was part of the family story whether you liked it or not. Smart kid. Gets it from her dad. We stood in comfortable silence, watching guests say their goodbyes. You look good, Mason. Happy. Getting there. What's next? Now that Emma's married and the courthouse is done? There's talk of a new hospital, and the scholarship fund's growing. Might expand it statewide. Building things that matter. Trying to. Elise studied my face in the streetlight. You know, I always wondered if you'd regret what we did. To Renee and Jared. Do you? Sometimes. When I think about how it changed you, it needed to change me. The man I was before, he was too trusting, too naive. Maybe, but he was also kinder. I thought about that, about the man who'd found that necklace 7 years ago, who'd believed in marriage and family and second chances. Kindness is a luxury, I said finally. You can only afford it when you're not being destroyed. And now? Now I'm building something different, something that can't be torn down by other people's choices. Emma and Michael came outside, still in their wedding clothes, but holding hands like teenagers. Dad, we're heading to the hotel. Thank you for everything. For today, for always. She hugged me tight, and for a moment I remembered her as a 10-year-old girl, confused and hurt, asking why Mommy had to go away. Be happy, I whispered. I will. And Dad, you be happy too, okay? After they left, Elise and I walked to our cars. You ever think about dating again? She asked. Sometimes. But I'm not sure I remember how to love someone without wondering when they'll leave. Maybe that's not love. Maybe that's just being careful. Maybe. She got in her car, then rolled down the window. For what it's worth, I think the man you are now could love someone, if you let yourself. Why would I want to? Because Emma's right. You deserve to be happy too. After she drove away, I sat in my truck for a long time, thinking about happiness and love and second chances. Then I drove home to my empty house, past the library and the community center and the courthouse, past all the things I'd built with my hands and my stubbornness and my refusal to let other people's betrayals define me. In the morning, I'd start planning the hospital and the scholarship expansion and whatever came next. Because that's what I did now. I built things. And maybe someday I'd build something for myself again. The letter from Renee arrived on the anniversary of our divorce. 8 years to the day since I'd found that necklace and everything changed. Mason, Emma told me about the wedding. She looked beautiful in the pictures. Thank you for raising her to be such an incredible woman. I know this will sound strange, but I wanted to thank you for something else too. For building the library where she got married, for all the things you've built since I left. Emma told me about the scholarship fund, about the hospital you're planning, about how respected you are in town now. I spent years thinking you were small, that our life was small. that staying with you meant settling for less than I deserved. I was wrong. You weren't building small things. You were building a life that mattered, a legacy that would outlast both of us. I threw all that away because I wanted something flashy and exciting, something that felt important. But what you build, that's what real importance looks like. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what I lost. And I wanted you to know that I'm proud of the man you became, even if my actions help make you harder than you should have had to be. Take care of yourself, Mason. You deserve to be happy. Renee. I read the letter twice, then put it in the drawer with the others. Emma would want to see it when she got back from her honeymoon. Then I poured myself a beer and sat on my back porch, looking out at the yard where we'd celebrated Emma's 10th birthday, where Jared had shown up uninvited and started the chain of events that led us here. 8 years later, Jared was working construction in Miami, divorced and alone. Renee was rebuilding her life in California, one careful step at a time. Emma was married to a good man who loved her completely. And I was here, in the house I'd built with my own hands, planning a hospital that would serve 3 counties. Had I won? Had they lost? Or had we all just survived in our own ways? My phone buzzed. Text from Emma. Thank you for the best day of my life. I love you, Dad. I texted back. Love you too, kiddo. Be happy. Then I finished my beer and went inside to review the hospital blueprints. There was work to do. There was always work to do. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. The end.